as is often the case with the double passage questions, it's best if we simplify things. It's best if we use dumb summaries to try to understand what's going on. So at this point, we've done a lot of questions about both passages. We should understand the relationship between them. And what is it? Well, it's that they disagree. The first passage is definitely saying that it was a meteor or an asteroid that did all this stuff. And then the second passage is kind of questioning that and saying that the evidence is not there and that there's better explanations. The timing doesn't line up. So in this nutshell, yeah, they disagree. We at least should have gotten that out of this, okay? So now we're just kind of saying, all right, well, what choices match with that? Now, one interesting thing about this question, too, is that they're asking what they both characterize the impact hypothesis as. So in a way, even though the passages disagree, we're being asked, what do they agree on? Which is strange. But that's a very common move for the SAT on these double passages. We usually have a question about the relationship, and then we kind of say, well, what did they agree on? And my normal way of phrasing this, without even looking at the passage, is to say, well, they usually disagree on the solution, but they agree on the problem, okay? So they disagree on solution, agree on the problem. So how would that line up with this? Well, the problem is that all these Clovis people disappeared. And the solution is, well, an asteroid hit, or no, an asteroid did not hit. There are different solutions to why this happened, right? It's a little bit of a stretch, but I think it's helpful for framing what we're about to look at. So let's look at these choices. So both authors would characterize the impact hypothesis as unsupported by reliable evidence. No. Passage 1 definitely thinks that there is good evidence for the asteroid impact. They're talking about the iridium and all that good stuff. So the passage 2 guy would say that, but the passage 1 person would not. B, interesting, but difficult to conclusively evaluate. Again, no, they probably do both think it's interesting, but the first passage does evaluate the impact hypothesis and says that it's true, that there's strong evidence for it. So it's not difficult to conclusively evaluate it. The first passage person, in his mind, did conclusively evaluate it and thinks it's true. So this is just not matching with what the both passages have to kind of agree on. C, it's more appealing to the public than to specialists. Well, the second passage kind of gets into this about it being like an interesting thing for Hollywood movies, but I don't remember the first passage really being about that. The first passage is just like kind of straight getting to the science. So that seems iffy. But let's look at D, controversial in the scientific community. Yeah. This is like literally a case of like they agree to disagree, right? Like these two people agree that there's two sides of a debate. There's evidence on the both sides. The first passage says the evidence points to the asteroid. The second passage says no, it does not. There's way more evidence the other way. So they agree that there is a controversy, a problem over what caused this change in the climate, and they then disagree on the solution. So they are part of the controversy themselves, but they agree that there are different sides of this, and they're both trying to make their point by arguing their side, but also by acknowledging that the other side exists and has made these other points, and they kind of try to, knock those other points down. So I think that this is pretty easy once we get out of our own heads and stop trying to overanalyze all the differences between the passages. If we just understand that they disagree, then we should be able to handle this, because we are being very surface level about everything. We're not getting into the weeds about what they disagree on. We just understand that there's a disagreement, and another word for disagreement is controversy, and there you go. That's a pretty direct line from question to summary to answer.